precisely 6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Lal Mallavarachi and read by Sharifa Tahir. Headlines. The Prime Minister instructs to re-employ retired nurses on contract basis. Sri Lanka confirms highest death toll in a single day with 67 fatalities. The total death toll rose to 1,910. State and private banks island-wide will open today and tomorrow for the payment of pensions. Casual employees of the Water Board will be made permanent. Health experts request the President to further tighten travel restrictions. In foreign news, US is to buy 500 million COVID vaccine doses for world. We move on to local news in detail now. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa instructed the Minister of Health yesterday to re-employ retired nurses on contract basis as needed. The Prime Minister made this observation at a meeting held at the Temple Trees to discuss issues in the nursing service at the request of the Chairman of the Public Services United Nurses Union, Venerable Muruthettuwe Ananda Nayaka Thera. The purpose of this meeting was to discuss short-term and long-term solutions and suggestions to the problems of nurses that they are currently facing. At the meeting, Venerable Muruthettuwe Ananda Thera expressed his views on increasing the allowances and facilities provided to the nurses. The Prime Minister instructed to add the period unskilled nurses currently working in some emergency units to their training period. In addition, the Prime Minister called for the introduction of short-term training programs for the intensive care unit. He also instructed the Minister to re-employ retired nurses on contract basis as required at present to ease the shortage of nurses. The Department of Government Information said Sri Lanka registered 67 more victims of COVID-19 yesterday, marking the highest number of deaths recorded in a single day. The latest fatalities have moved the country's death toll to 1,910. The Epidemiology Unit of the Health Ministry reports that 2,716 persons have tested positive yesterday, moving the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 213,396. As many as 180,427 recoveries have also been confirmed. The Epidemiology Unit's data showed that 31,126 active cases are currently under medical care. The government says that state and private banks island-wide will open today and tomorrow for the payment of pensions. In addition, post offices have also been instructed to remain open from today to the 12th of this month. Persons who travel to obtain the pension allowances may use their pension identity card as a travel pass. Meanwhile, the government has arranged free transport services for pensioners who cannot arrange their own transport method. The decision has been taken at the discussion held at the Temple Trees yesterday. The transport arrangements are carried out with the collaboration of the Sri Lanka Transport Board, Divisional Secretariats and the Sri Lanka Army. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation giving you the news.
Scan the Lanka QR code and make your payments with People's Pay mobile payment app from People's Bank.
Continuing with more stories here at home. The government focuses its attention on making the relief and temporary employees of National Water Supply Board permanent in the near future. Minister Vasudeva Nanayakkara said temporary and contract employees who have completed 5 years of service will be considered for this position. Presently, the employees at contract basis draw a low salary. Therefore, the government has taken effective measures to remedy the situation, the minister said. The government has taken steps to expedite the biofertilizer production process at the Biogenic Green Technology Research Institute in Kelaniya. The Research Institute says that it supports the government's organic fertilizer policy and will provide technical assistance and fertilizer under the initiative. The institute has been conducting research on organic fertilizers for about 15 years. As a result, a completely eco-friendly natural compound has been developed using microorganisms, and products required for local agriculture have been launched. As a substitute for chemical fertilizers, solid fertilizers, liquid biofertilizers, soil care fertilizers, agro-repellents and fungal fertilizers have already been introduced to the market. The main feature of the biofertilizer is the high yield from the earliest use. The production capacity of the Research Institute will also be increased in the future. Back to the headlines. The Prime Minister instructs to re-employ retired nurses on contract basis. Sri Lanka confirms highest death toll in a single day with 67 fatalities. The total death toll rose to 1,910. State and private banks island-wide will be open today and tomorrow for the payment of pensions. Casual employees of the Water Board will be made permanent. Health experts request the president to further tighten travel restrictions. In foreign news, US is to buy 500 million COVID vaccine doses for world.
Nobody tells time like this. So why do you still pay with cash when you have People's Pay mobile app from People's Bank? Scan the Lanka QR code and make your payments with People's Pay mobile payment app from People's Bank.
Excuse me, do you know what the time is?
Do you see the sun shining brightly at us at a 45-degree angle from the equatorial line? That probably means it's 3 o'clock, huh?
In the age of the mobile phone, nobody tells time like this. So why do you still pay with cash when you have People's Pay mobile app from People's Bank?
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Consultant Doctors Association has requested President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to further tighten travel restrictions. They have pointed out that the number of corona patients shows an increase of 12% and the number of deaths 28%. The association has sent a letter to the President emphasizing the need to enhance travel restrictions. It has drawn the attention on the risk if the number of patients increases and becomes unbearable to the hospital system. That's the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
On Watchlight, Environment Minister Mahinda Amaravira instructed the Central Environmental Authority to take immediate action to ban polythene and plastic products from the second list, including single-use plastic items. He said the majority of the plastic items on this list can be produced using eco-friendly materials. The officials of the Central Environmental Authority informed the minister that steps have been taken to introduce eco-friendly alternatives for the production of all those products. That's on Watchlight. Moving on to world news headlines. US is to buy 500 million COVID vaccine doses for world. Auckland ranked most livable city as pandemic shifts list. 9 die as building collapses onto bus in Gwangju in South Korea. Moving on to world news in detail. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration will provide 500 million doses of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine to about 100 countries over the next 2 years, U.S. media report. About 200 million doses will be distributed this year, with the remainder delivered in 2022. The U.S. has been under pressure to raise vaccination rates in poor countries. The move comes as Mr. Biden landed in the UK at the start of his first foreign trip as US President. Auckland in New Zealand has been named the world's most livable city in an annual ranking that has been shifted by the coronavirus pandemic. The Economist Intelligence Unit survey ranked 140 cities on factors including stability, infrastructure, education, and access to healthcare. But the pandemic proved to be the defining factor in this year's list. It meant European cities fell while those in Australia, Japan, and New Zealand rose up the rankings. Finally, on world news, at least 9 people have been killed after a 5-story building being demolished in South Korea collapsed onto a bus, officials said. 8 people were injured in the collapse, which happened in the southern city of Gwangju. The bus was carrying 17 people and had stopped on a street below, the National Fire Agency said. The reason for the collapse is not yet clear, and search efforts are underway for survivors who may be trapped. That's on world news, and moving on to development news. A new state university named University of Vaunia will be established with effect from the 1st of August 2021. Minister of Education, Professor G.L. Peiris, published the relevant Gazette notification by virtue of the powers vested in him by Section 21 of Universities Act No. 16 of 1978. The new state university is being established for the purpose of providing, promoting and developing higher education in the branches of learning of business studies, applied science and technology studies. That's on development news. And on sports news, the Indian cricket team will play 3 one-day internationals and as many T20 internationals in Sri Lanka between July 13th to the 25th. Broadcaster Sony has announced that Indian selectors are expected to pick plenty of fringe players for the limited overs tour, with Shikhar Dhawan and Hardik Pandya in the fray for leading the side. A fully fit Shreyas Iyer is another captaincy option. Sony Sports announced the schedule via social media. The ODIs will take place on 13th, 16th and 18th July, while the T20 internationals will be played on the 21st, 23rd and 25th of July. The venues for the games are yet to be announced.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
The State Ministry of Agriculture says that all dedicated economic centres across the island will be open again for wholesale trade on Saturday and Sunday. Economic centres had been open for farmers and distributors on several occasions despite travel restrictions in order to ensure that the public is provided essential food items without any shortage.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news, courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
Sri Lanka's rupee bid closes without active quotes in a forex market yesterday, while gilt yields remained unchanged, market participants said. Banks were offering dollars telegraphic transfers at closed at 197.91, 202.88 yesterday from 197.92 to 202.88 levels on the day before yesterday. Sri Lanka's debt office is offered 51 billion bills in an auction held yesterday.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
The Met Department says showers will occur at times in western, Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces and in Galle, Mathura, Nuwara and Kandy districts. Fairly heavy falls, about 50 millimeters, can be expected at some places in Sabaragamuwa province and in Nuwara district. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in Uva province during the evening or night. Wind speed can increase up to 30 to 40 kilometers per hour at times in western slope of the Central Hills, northern, north central and northwestern provinces and in Hambantota and Trincomalee districts. Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
With that, we conclude this bulletin of news, and it's back to Geetanjali this morning to give you some good company.